This video is going to give you some tips on writing the main section of your essay on celebrity. So in this section, you will recall that you're going to be focusing in on specific ideas, having explained why celebrity in general is deemed to have some general ideas, has general effects on society. In this section, you want to be focusing in on particular ideas about that allow us to demonstrate how that works under particular circumstances. And again, what you need to do is kind of identify a particular idea that's been explored in relation to celebrity and then explain why it matters. And let me show you how you can do this again through NVivo. So if we look at a project that I've opened here, you'll recall that one of the things that we discover if we start reading around celebrity, and I would direct your attention to this journal here, Celebrity Studies, which is available through electronic journals. A while back when I was doing some research on celebrity, I discovered that Angelina Jolie actually features in about 15% of all of the articles that have been published in this journal. So that kind of told me that if you're looking to focus in on what celebrity is and what it does, one of the things that you could do is relate it to the topic of Angelina Jolie. But that's not really enough, because the other thing that you need to do is say, well, what is it about Angelina Jolie? Or more particularly, what ideas have people developed in relationship to Angelina Jolie that tell us interesting things about why celebrity is deemed to have such an impact on global culture. So what I did is, if you go again, I've shown you how to do all of this. What you do is you quite simply I just collected all of the articles about Angelina Jolie that I could find, and downloaded them as PDFs onto my hard drive, and then loaded them as internals into NVivo. Now, by this time you've got to this stage, I would suggest that word searches are perhaps less useful than they were when you were kind of, just really trying to explore a topic. And this is really more about reading the articles as you would usually, but using the node coding function more in a more kind of directed way. So what you'll see here is that I've actually kind of gone through each of these articles, and I've read them and highlighted ideas and turned them into nodes at particular places where I've come across ideas that seem to be interesting. And I suppose kind of one of the big ideas that I've found is that in the reading on Angelina Jolie, there is this idea mentioned in some of the articles that suggests that celebrity is one of the symbols of the changing nature of political communication. The rise of the Angelina Jolie, for example, represents the rise of the kind of ambassadorial celebrity, the celebrity who becomes deeply involved in global politics. And this in turn reflects the fact that the sphere of popular culture and entertainment has become part of the political realm. And so what we have here is, I've kind of highlighted sections where it's actually mentioned that you can't really understand Angelina Jolie without understanding changes in global media culture, particularly the rise of 24/7 global news as a source of entertainment as much as anything else. And also connected with that, the idea that down here, that people are less, I guess, what you might call tribal or ritualistic about their political preferences. People tend not to associate quite so closely with political parties anymore. So they're looking for other forms of other forms of other kind of anchors or other sources of orientation in the political world, and celebrities offer that kind of anchor, that kind of focal point. And that's what we have in these ideas. And again, if you click onto the node, it will take you back to exactly where you got that idea. So you don't have any problems kind of tracing back and finding where the reference is. You know precisely whether you're using a quote or not. And then, of course, also you might want to add an annotation in there. Now, the other thing that I want to show you here is the idea of the subnode. So, for example, I've kind of got this category of changing modes of political communication. But of course, that can mean many different things. So say you've actually got, say, different sorts of, so I've kind of highlighted two different aspects of that. The idea that there's more of a focus on young voters and more of a focus on emotional politics. Okay, so the idea that emotion is an important aspect in mobilizing public opinion. These are two of the sorts of changes in the nature of political communication that are deemed as being key. And I've created those as subnodes. And how you can do that is click on a node, create a new node, turn it into feminism, I don't know, whatever it is you want to call it. And then you can actually code different aspects of this overall theme. We also have the idea that if we're on the theme of changing media systems, we have the idea that Twitter has added a particular power to the celebrity world, because this is a fascinating quote, because it suggests that stardom, ever since the early days of Hollywood, was always based on a really intense effort on behalf of publicity systems, of the publicity industry, to close the gap between the star and the audience, to tell the audience more and more about the private life of the star. And that social media is an obvious advantage in that sense, because it allows you to go through that same kind of PR closing of distance in real time, as it were. And so this sort of increases the sort of intimate nature of social relationships that we have with stars. Another theme that comes through with Angelina Jolie is the idea that one of the things that we know is that celebrity, the appeal of celebrity, is quite closely tied to the notion of authenticity. And we also know that the question of what authenticity is quite a complicated thing. With regard to Angelina Jolie, her authenticity is significantly connected to the fact that her political activism is based in her own body. A lot of the things that she advocates for are based on things that are happening to her physically. And again, this takes us back to exactly where we've got that idea from. So we kind of have, and then what you see is there's an emerging argument here that why Angelina Jolie? Well, firstly, she represents a changing mode of political communication that includes where the celebrity has been particularly good at attracting young voters, giving some emotional content to politics. And that's all the more the case with Angelina Jolie, because we physically see her suffering for her causes. The causes that she deals with, she wears in her body. And so what we have here are particular definitions of authenticity and the political nature of stardom that we can identify and begin to write about through this coding function. And so we'll be practicing doing that. Hopefully you can see again, the idea is that a structure emerges for this second 600 word section of your essay, and you can begin to write that as you do the reading.